Few figures in American sports history command the reverence associated with Sandy Koufax. To some, he is the greatest left-handed pitcher ever to step on a mound. To others, he represents dignity, principle, and spiritual courage. A man who, at the height of pressure, placed faith and identity above fame. But to nearly everyone, Koufax is a symbol. His career, though shockingly short, burned so brightly that 60 years later it still feels mythic. As of now, Koufax's net worth is estimated at $10 million. Unlike today's stars, he played in an era long before nine-figure contracts and endorsement empires. His wealth reflects a modest lifestyle, post-career work in broadcasting and coaching, book royalties, selective business ventures, and the long-term value of being one of baseball's most iconic figures. But numbers cannot quantify legacy, and Sandy Koufax's is immeasurable. Early life. Family origins in Brooklyn. Sandy Koufax was born Sanford Braun on December 30th, 1935, in Brooklyn, New York. His mother, Evelyn Lichtenstein, was a strong-willed and intellectually sharp woman who worked as a certified public accountant. His biological father, Jack Braun, was involved in the garment industry. Their marriage, however, dissolved when Sandy was only 3. This early fracture in the family created a close and lifelong bond between Sandy and his mother. In 1944, Evelyn remarried Irving Koufax, an attorney with a calm but commanding presence. Sandy took his stepfather's last name, becoming the Koufax the world now knows. Through Irving, he gained a stepsister, Edith, enriching a family dynamic built on discipline, education, and cultural pride rather than material wealth. Growing up Jewish in mid-century America, the Koufax household was culturally, though not strictly religiously, Jewish. They observed important holidays, valued ethical living, and respected tradition. Sandy attended Jewish summer camp, learned Yiddish songs and humor, and grew up with a sense of identity that would later become central to his moral choices. Childhood interests and education. Although Brooklyn was overflowing with baseball culture, Sandy did not grow up dreaming of the Dodgers or idolizing pitchers. His first love was basketball. He was tall, agile, surprisingly quick, and strong for his age. At Lafayette High School, he played basketball more passionately than baseball. Academically, he was bright but somewhat indifferent to school structure, preferring mathematics and design over literature or history. Sports, however, channeled his focus and ambition. After high school, he earned admission to the University of Cincinnati, not as a baseball prospect, but on a basketball scholarship. He intended to study architecture, drawn to clean lines, structure, and the engineering beauty of buildings. What no one yet realized was that this future architect had the blueprint for an entirely different kind of greatness. Personal life. Married life. Koufax is a deeply private man, and his personal life reflects a desire to keep the spotlight firmly on what truly matters. He has been married 3 times. And Widmark, daughter of actor Richard Widmark. Married in 1969, divorced in 1982. Kimberly Francis, married in the mid-1980s, later divorced. Jane Purucker Clarke, married in 2008, his partner as of 2025. Koufax has no biological children, though through Jane Clarke he has been a stepfather and grandfather figure. Religion. Though often described as devout, Koufax himself rejects that label. He was raised in a secular Jewish household and never had a bar mitzvah. But he culturally identifies as Jewish, a connection so deep that during the 1965 World Series, he famously refused to pitch Game 1 because it fell on Yom Kippur. That moment, broadcast to millions, made him an instant symbol of Jewish pride and spiritual integrity. For many, his act transcended sports and placed him among the world's most respected cultural icons. Other works and public roles. After retiring, Koufax rarely sought public attention, but he did contribute meaningfully to the sport and community. Baseball broadcasting for NBC, minor league pitching instructor for the Dodgers, special advisor to Dodgers leadership 2013 to 2015, involved quietly in charitable causes, including arthritis research and youth sports. He became an inspiration to generations of Jewish athletes and minority players who saw in him the power of identity and integrity. Sandy Koufax is not simply a baseball hero. He is an American cultural figure of remarkable depth. Professional career. The accidental baseball star. Koufax's transition from architecture student to professional pitcher was improbable. While at the University of Cincinnati, he joined a baseball team workout nearly on a whim. Coaches were stunned. The tall, muscular lefty threw harder than almost anyone they had ever seen. By 1954, several major league teams were competing for him. The Dodgers outbid them all, signing him to a large bonus contract, making him a bonus baby, required to spend 2 years on the major league roster before being sent to the minors. The early struggles, 1955 to 1960. Koufax debuted for the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1955 at age 19. But the early years were turbulent. Wild control, erratic mechanics, occasional flashes of brilliance overshadowed by inconsistency, and a 36-40 record through 1960. He was viewed as a player with terrifying potential, but potential alone doesn't win games. By 1960, frustrated and nearly broken, Koufax considered quitting baseball entirely. Then everything changed. The rise of a legend, 1961 to 1962. In spring training of 1961, Koufax altered his delivery, simplified his movement, and learned to trust his natural power. The results were explosive. 269 strikeouts, breaking Christy Mathewson's record. National League dominance, and fear in the eyes of every right-handed batter. In 1962, the Dodgers moved to Los Angeles, and Koufax, now a superstar, became the West Coast's new sporting icon. The Golden Years, 1963 to 1966. This 4-year stretch remains one of the most dominant in MLB history. 1963, a year for the ages. 25 wins, 306 strikeouts, league best ERA. Cy Young Award, unanimous. National League MVP, World Series champion, and World Series MVP. Koufax wasn't just better than everyone. He was otherworldly. The Perfect Game, 1965. On September 9, 1965, Koufax delivered a masterpiece. A perfect game against the Chicago Cubs. The final strike, a knee-buckling curveball, became one of the most famous pitches in baseball history. Yom Kippur, 1965 World Series. Koufax refused to pitch Game 1 because it fell on Yom Kippur. This was not defiance, it was devotion. The Dodgers lost Game 1, but Koufax's moral victory resonated far more. He later delivered shutouts in Game 5 and the decisive Game 7, leading the Dodgers to the championship. 1966, dominance through pain. Despite severe elbow arthritis and near-constant pain, Koufax's 1966 season was incredible. 27 wins, 1.73 ERA, 317 strikeouts, and third Cy Young Award. But Payne finally won. Retirement at 30. In November 1966, at the peak of his power, Sandy Koufax retired at age 30. The baseball world was devastated, but his decision was medically wise. Doctors warned he might lose full use of his pitching arm. He walked away with 165 career wins, 2.76 ERA, 2,396 strikeouts, 4 no-hitters, 1 perfect game, 3 Cy Young Awards, World Series MVPs, and the aura of a man who burned brighter in 12 seasons than most do in 20. In 1972, he became the youngest player ever elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame at age 36. College career. Koufax's college life remains a fascinating chapter. At the University of Cincinnati, he played basketball, not baseball, on scholarship, studied architecture, fascinated by geometry and engineering, played baseball casually until scouts noticed his raw power. He never completed his degree due to signing with the Dodgers, but he continued taking night classes at Columbia University while pitching professionally, a testament to his intellect and discipline. House tour and car collection. Home life. Koufax has always valued privacy, choosing practical, peaceful living spaces over celebrity real estate. His primary home has long been in Vero Beach, Florida, near the Dodgers' historic spring training grounds. The residence is modest, around 2,000 to 2,500 square feet, with an understated coastal design. Sandy is known to enjoy quiet evenings, simple routines, and neighborhood walks. He has also lived part-time in Pennsylvania, though details remain intentionally obscure, a reflection of his lifelong resistance to the spotlight. Vehicles. Koufax is not a car collection celebrity, but there is one legendary car, a 1964 Chevrolet Corvette, a gift following one of his greatest seasons. Otherwise, he has long preferred comfortable, unpretentious vehicles. His wealth was never expressed through possessions, but through the freedom to live life on his own terms. As of today, Sandy Koufax is alive. He has faced health challenges, including cancer in 2010, but he continues to live a peaceful, private life surrounded by loved ones, respected colleagues, and the unshakable admiration of the sports world. Sandy Koufax's story is not merely a baseball narrative. It is a saga of determination, identity, and grace under pressure. His career lasted barely a decade, yet his impact spans generations. His accomplishments remain untouched, his legend untarnished, his values uncompromised. He transcended statistics, becoming a living symbol of excellence, humility, and human integrity. He is the rare athlete whose myth is not exaggerated. It is completely earned.